All right, welcome everybody to the Lakers Legacy podcast, where it was much ado about nothing for the Lakers during the last night of the 2025 NBA draft. Actually, it was much ado about their number 36 pick because the Lakers, for the first time that I can remember, moved up twice in the second round to get their guy, and get their guy they did, ADOU THIERO out of Arkansas. But now NBA free agency begins. I'm your host, Jonathan Hernandez, and today, helping me usher in the start of NBA free agency just next week, friend of the podcast, salary cap analyst, host of the Third Apron podcast, also Third Apron on YouTube, Mr. Yossi Gozlan. Yossi, welcome back to the show. How are you doing? Congratulations on new fatherhood. I'm guessing lack of sleep isn't anything new for you these days.
No, not at all. Thanks for having me back on. It's good to be back.
For sure. I plugged your Third Apron stuff. Is there anything more specific that you'd like to plug?
Just Third Apron. There's the podcast and the newsletter on Substack. And for all those watching, you could see my tag on Twitter at my name, Yossi Gozlan. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'll be reacting to all those transactions with instant salary cap analysis.
Yeah, now is the best time to follow Yossi if you aren't already. Yossi, before we get into the free agency stuff, your quick general thoughts on the NBA draft, more particularly for our audience, last night's second round. There was a lot of movement going on, a lot of interchanging of second round picks. What were your thoughts on the Lakers making two jumps up in the second round? Some teams, like the Orlando Magic and the Phoenix Suns in particular, traded multiple future seconds just to get an early 30s spot, while the Lakers managed to parlay number 55 and just cash upon cash to get to 36, which I thought was pretty shrewd. But yeah, your thoughts on last night's draft and what the Lakers did.
I don't know much about the THIERO, but I think the way they jumped up to what pick was it? 36 from all
Mm-hmm.
the way from they went from 55 with cash to 45, then 45 with cash to 36. I think that is excellent value. So the Lakers they only traded I think a tiny bit of cash. Oh, no. Other way around. They hadn't traded any cash at all this season. And the way the cash works is it's within the salary cap year. So whatever cash they just sent out is the cash for 24-25. And so it's like I know they traded like 2.5 million, and then I don't think it's reported how much they traded to get to jump up from to 36, but it was a use it or lose it situation for the Lakers, where if they don't use this cash now, then once the new cap year rolls over on July 1st, then there's going to be a new cash limit. It resets. So good on the Lakers to use it in the last second and use it in to move up 20 spots, or
Mm-hmm.
the 19 spots in the draft.
19.
Yeah, excellent value by the Lakers. Uh, and especially in a league where it seems like cash isn't as valuable for getting stuff done. Like, it's hard to do cash just as for salary dumping minimums anymore. You got to pay draft equity to do it. Uh, I think better value than what the Suns did, where they traded a whole bunch of seconds, like shuffled a whole bunch of them to move up to 31 in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other notable thing is, because the Lakers traded cash, they're not going to be able to exceed next year's second apron, which is 208 million. But it's fine because they weren't going to exceed that amount anyways.
Right. I think they were trying to even just almost hard cap themselves at the first apron if they hard cap themselves anywhere at all. Does the move down from number 55 to number 36 with regards to the rookie salary impact them at all? I know like second rounders don't count against the cap, especially if they become two-way contracts, but let's say they actually sign him to, I think it's that second year or second round contract, 3-year rule or whatever. I mean, the salary amount is probably minimal, right?
Well, the rookie minimum is 1.3 million, and unless you are like the 31st, 32nd pick usually gets the 2-year vet, which is 2.3 million. Some of the selections below might end up getting the 1-year vet, which is 2 mil. So Maybe the Lakers get THIERO to sign the 1-year rookie minimum, which would count as 1.3 million, but it is a little higher, so maybe they give him, it is a little bit higher selection, so maybe they give him a little bit more, just customary, based on how higher second round picks, they usually command a little bit more money.
So maybe they have 500K less under the first apron than they do currently. But regardless, the Lakers ended up selecting ADOU THIERO, 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan, probably one of the most athletic and explosive wings remaining on the board. He's explosive. He can run for days. He's looking to detonate on the rim at all times. And I think he just gives the Lakers that injection of young motor and dynamic pop that they so desperately needed, especially after watching the playoffs, where it seems like all the teams that were remaining were so well conditioned. They could run up and down for days. They could jump, block shots, dunk the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the Lakers this past year and kind of the past couple of years have just sort of been skilled outside of LeBron James. Now, with regards to free agency, trades and free agency, um, because the Lakers weren't able to get a big man in this draft, they'll obviously likely turn to trades or free agency for a center. Let's start with trades first. In your opinion, and this is kind of like a double sided question, who is the best but also the most feasible big man option that you could see the Lakers trading for currently? Now, we all know the names, but I'm interested to see who you particularly pinpoint.
Well, the cheaper, the easier. So we can start at
Mhm.
the bottom. Like the way bottom is like, what's his name? Duop Reith from Portland, making the minimum salary. I think the Lakers and Blazers could be natural trade partners now, with the Blazers rostering 5 centers at the moment. If you go up a little bit, there's Nick Richards making 5 million. I would imagine the Suns are going to trade him after changing up their center rotation, adding 2 centers that should probably be above him in the rotation. So that should be an easier target for the Lakers to get. Mostly reserves. As far as like a starter level center, that's going to be a little more difficult. Obviously, there's DeAndre Ayton, but at his 35.5 million number, I think the Lakers shouldn't try to. I don't think they should try to like give up anything of value, like not Rui, not a pick, because I don't think there's going to be any other teams interested in trading for Aiden. So if you can structure a trade where all you're giving up is like your expiring salaries, like Vincent and Kleba, and LeBron takes a little bit of a pay cut to help fit that number in, so you could bring in another guy. I think that works. That's like the highest end of outcomes.
What do you think Portland will be willing to accept for that, though, if we're only giving them expirings, like a pick swap or something?
I think they just want players that they like. They don't really
Okay, that
value
makes sense. That's true. Gabe Vincent might
everything.
actually fit what they're going for right now.
I don't know about that. Maybe they'll take him as an expiring, but like if you look at how they've operated, they don't try to get draft picks often. They try to just
Mhm.
target players that they think fit their rotation. So it'd probably have to be a third team involved, where the Blazers, maybe there's a like the third team doesn't want Aiden. They just want some expirings, and they have a guy under contract that the Blazers are interested in. It'd be something like that. So we'll see. But I do think if you are bringing in Aiden, I think LeBron has to take a little bit of a salary reduction,
Mhm. And I
because
and I agree with and I agree with you that sorry, I agree with you that the Lakers shouldn't trade Rui for Ayton at that point.
yeah, I think you only get him just to take on his big salary. Like that should
Mhm.
be the extent of what it is.
What about okay, so if we're looking now we go super higher. Um what are your thoughts on the Nick Claxton, Goga Batadze, Walker Kessler group? Goga is probably on the lesser end of this spectrum, but I think the Magic have with the moves that they've made, I don't know, it still depends. It's still TBD what they do with Mo Wagner. I'm assuming they're just going to resign him, but it seems like they're going to keep Goga. I'm not sure.
Orlando, I think at this point probably wants to keep Goga unless they could trade Isaac for a different big man. I'm sure they'll bring back Wagner, but I don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season. So that's another reason why they might just hold on to Goga. You talk about Claxton. I'm sure he's available. I don't know if the Nets would want 31 for him, and at the same time, I don't know if the Lakers are comfortable trading 31 for him. So
Mhm.
that one's a little complicated.
Question for you on the Nick Claxton thing. Like, personally for you, what would you be comfortable giving up for Nick Claxton if you're the Lakers GM? Like, would you be okay giving up the 2031st plus expirings? Would you be comfortable giving up 2031st Rui and Dalton Connect? Where do you draw the line there?
I would probably if they want 2031, I'd probably also want some picks back because
Mhm.
31 is very valuable.
Yeah.
I think it's has more value than Nick Claxton. So if you can
Mhm.
turn 31, your expiring salaries, you bring back Nick Claxton, and then maybe you get back like one or two crappy firsts in the future. I think that makes it a little more worth it for the Lakers. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I think that's too much value to trade 31 on its own.
Yeah.
Um, and then Walker Kessler, I mean, they've been linked to him for a year now. So if something would have, if the Lakers had enough, it would have probably gotten done by now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only difference now is that he's entering a restricted free agency. I'm not sure how much that kind of inches Ainge to look for a deal, but I for the most part, agree with you that if something, if a deal would have gotten done, it would have gotten done by now. Um, Okay, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I don't know, potentially looming Andrew Wiggins situation with the Miami Heat. And let's say the Lakers were able to work something out with the Miami Heat. Where would you personally draw the line for Wiggins? Would it stop at Rui Hachimura and whatever salary is necessary for Wiggins? Because in essence, the Lakers would be helping the Miami Heat financially while also giving them a stopgap forward in return. Or would you be also willing to give up Rui, and Connect? Definitely not the 2031st first, knowing how you like to operate with picks. But yeah, where would you draw the line there?
Personally, I wouldn't pursue Wiggins at all.
Oh, okay.
If I'm the Lakers, I think they should just stick with the wing group that they've got. I understand that the theory behind bringing Wiggins is that he can guard some smaller guards because they wanted a point of attack defender, but he's also about to turn 30. He's always very hit or miss every year. You don't know what to get from him. I think the Lakers are better off just having two inexpensive wings. And then if you bring in Wiggins, he's got that player option for next year, which I would guess he's probably going to pick up at this point. That there goes
True.
your 2026 flexibility. That's what the Heat are pursuing. If the Heat can turn Wiggins into Rui and just some expirings like Vincent, who played for them in the past, that's great. They probably stay the same as they were gonna have be as with Wiggins, and now they have all this extra flexibility to try to get somebody next year if somebody makes it to free agency. If you're the Lakers, why give that all up for Wiggins? I would just keep my assets, keep my players, and keep that flexibility for next year because you never know. Like Lakers could also have cap space next year. They right now they're in a position to if they don't add too much long term money, like they can give Dorian Finney-Smith a long term deal, um, but then they can have like maybe 40 million plus in cap space while also having the ability to have already extended Luca and then re-sign Reeves after. So I don't think that is worth sacrificing for Wiggins for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially if we have to then tack on Dalton Connect, our only other asset that we can trade in other deals, and then the 2031st first, which some iterations of that have been floating around, which I think are pretty ridiculous. But I agree with you that keeping our flexibility is pretty valuable, as well as the continuity with Rui, even if it is for a stopgap year. I have a question for you about a Cavaliers player, and I'm not talking about Darius Garland or even Jarrett Allen, but I know the Cavs could use some earlier salary relief as well. Do you think they would consider trading DeAndre Hunter for an expiring Rui just to get off of his deal like a year earlier? Or what are your thoughts on that?
If you asked me a month ago, I would have said maybe they consider trading Allen to save money.
Hmm.
Now, a couple things have changed. One, the Garland injury. I mean, that's kind of what's developed. Now we're learning more how bad that injury was, to the point that he's going to miss the beginning of next year. And had that not happened, then a lot of what happened in the playoffs would have been even more concerning. But also, it uh by because they so and then because of that, I think now we know that they didn't really have a chance in the playoffs last year because none of their guys were healthy, especially Garland. So with that, knowing that, they're going to be a very expensive team, and they're already set to have like a $360 million roster before potentially re-signing Ty Jerome. Last month, I would have said maybe they look to trade Allen before his extension kicks in, and let Ty Jerome go. But now Garland's going to miss the start of the year. I think they're going to try to keep Jerome now. Maybe they offset that by moving a guy like Okoro. But now, also, the East is way more open than it was by the time the Celtics were eliminated. I think they're the favorite in the East by a good margin. So if you're the Cavs, you won 64 games last year. You're going to have more continuity. Second year under Kenny Atkinson's system. And they have 2 years until Donovan Mitchell has that player option. I think they go for it this year. They spend as much money this year, and the next year, spend whatever it takes, go above the second apron. After that, maybe they consider taking a step back, saving some money. So as far as Hunter, no, I think I would say the only guy I think they might be looking to shed is Okoro, and I don't think he fits a need for the Lakers.
Yeah, good context that you just provided there. Yeah, so if the Cavs are just planning to run it back for one more year, given all of the caveats that they've placed on this season, yeah, it makes sense that they would just not give up on DeAndre Hunter so quickly. I believe they just traded for him like a couple months ago. All right, why don't we take it to break here? When we come back, I have some actual free agency questions to ask Yossi, and then we'll close it out from there. All right, so we are back. Yossi, every time I've had you on this show for free agency, especially if we do it prior to free agency, you've been pretty dead on in kind of predicting the targets that the Lakers will go with for the taxpayer MLE. I think one year, even when there wasn't any smoke, you're like, maybe Lonnie Walker, he's the type of guy that they kind of like to gravitate towards. And you got it right, for better or for worse. What are your thoughts on taxpayer MLE predictions for the Lakers this year? Now, in the LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Rob Pelinka era, prior to Luka, Pelinka's MO for the MLE, whether it be full MLE or taxpayer MLE, has always been to kind of get people like to joke about Pelinka and say that, like, oh, he just gets like washed up all stars or whatever. But actually, for this one exception, he's typically gone mid 20s player who has a little bit of upside. He doesn't like to get some washed up dude. We've gotten Montrezl Harrell, Kendrick Nunn, obviously. Gabe Vincent may be like on the older end of the spectrum, but usually he's trying to get someone below 30 years old who still has maybe a little bit of upside. So I don't know if you're in that same line of thinking for the new era with Luka Doncic, but do you have any targets or predictions for the taxpayer MLE? And let's narrow it down to like one or two guys.
Well, I don't think there's any good targets that are going to be available for that price. I think after seeing Adams get essentially the full mid level, I think Lakers will probably be priced out of Lopez, Clint Capella. Um, there's like maybe Al Horford. I wouldn't expect the Lakers to be able to get those guys. I think the taxpayers MLE is pretty useless. It's only been used by the Nuggets ever since the new taxpayer mid level. That the way it changed a couple years ago, it became a lower amount, lower years. Nuggets have been the only team that have used it. It's only a couple million more than the minimum. So in that case, the Lakers are better off using it to sign someone who's willing to take a discount for the minimum. So I think like maybe you could get Larry Nance on it, but I think with the Lakers at this point, if they're gonna target a big like an actual impactful big man, I think it needs to be through trade. That or they need to reduce some payroll, whether that's by trading some of these expiring guys or having LeBron take a salary reduction so they can be under the first apron, so then they could use the full mid level. I think that's more realistic to get one of those veteran bigs I mentioned. They could also use it as a trade exception to go after other bigs. I don't. I just don't think that the free agency markets where they're gonna find uh, any answers for their center rotation. I'd be surprised they might, but I think it's going to be hard to find anyone with the way their budget currently stands.
So I have some taxpayer MLE guys that I potentially want to run past you, but to your point, it's only like 2 million above like what most of these guys are getting on the veteran minimum these days. But do you okay, given Boston's situation getting under the second apron, do you think that they retain Luke Cornett at this point? And especially if another team is only trying to give him the taxpayer MLE, is that enough to pry away Luke Cornett or no?
So I think the Celtics now, based on what they've done and what I'm anticipating they might end up doing, I think they'll end up keeping one of Horford or Cornett. I don't know who they prioritize, but also we'll have to see what Horford wants. Um, Maybe there's other teams willing to make aggressive offers at him, even though he just finished his 18th year. If there's a team willing to pay him around what he's been making, like 10 million a year, and it might be a better situation for next year over Boston, that might be worth him considering leaving the Celtics, in which case keeping Cornett becomes more of a priority for the Celtics. I get the feeling Cornett might also be part of that group that the Lakers get priced out of for
Mm.
more than the tax mid level. He's been really good. There's a handful of teams that have a need for a big, just like the Lakers, but have more to spend, like the Spurs. Um, I'd have to go through the list, but the Clippers.
Mm.
There's teams that can the Warriors. There's teams that can they could outbid the Lakers for a big and that really need one.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, so let's not go the big route. To your point, the Lakers will probably have to trade for that big. Let's try and find some Moneyball guys for the taxpayer MLE. So let me get your thoughts on these two guys. These seem like Rob Pelinka guys to me, maybe. I think they're going to make more, but I want to get your thoughts. Zaire Williams out of the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think he's a priority there, especially now that they're bringing in 5 new guys to the roster. And then Jake LaRavia. I'm going to assume the Sacramento Kings just resign him. They traded for him. Why don't they resign him? But I don't know. They've got a lot of things going on. Let's say both of those guys are let loose on the market. What do you think that they would command? In my head, I'm looking at maybe, I don't know, $7 to $9 million for either of them. But do you think that they might take the taxpayer MLE for a starting spot, a role next to Luka? I don't know.
I do. I think that's kind of in line with what they're looking at, especially Laravia. The Kings can only re-sign him to 5.2 million. So if another team wants to, they can outbid the Kings and offer him that full tax pyramid level. It runs for 2 years. Give him a player option. Like that's really the formula to top the Kings' best offer. The only thing he'd be debating at that point is what's a better situation, playing for the Kings or playing for another team. Zaire, he's not going to be the Nets aren't going to give him a qualifying offer, so they can use all their cap space. Maybe they could resign him to a lower amount early ahead before free agency starts. But if, but yeah, I mean that situation's hard. I'm trying to. They got a lot of wings there now. A lot of guards. Maybe I think they'll try to keep them, but it's getting pretty crowded there to the point where maybe it would only make sense if they're able to trade Cam Johnson so he can. But Cam Johnson could just miss a bunch of games, so he can. He'd probably still get minutes.
Okay, that sounds a little bit more promising. I would love Zaire Williams. I would also love Jake LaRavia, especially if the Lakers end up sending Dalton Connect elsewhere in another package for said big. So a
I
guy
will
that you and
say
I
if
both,
the Lakers
yeah,
can get Jake LaRavia for the tax pyramid level, I think that's a lot better value than
yeah,
some of these bigs for the same price.
hmm
Where I think the Lakers should try to maybe see if one of them's willing to take like a discount for the minimum. It's unlikely, but
Yeah.
as far as like a high upside play, I think that's better for the mid level than getting a stopgap center.
I agree because you can get a stopgap center like Kai Jones, Isaiah Jackson, James Wiseman, Jericho Sims, maybe for the veteran minimum, and Jake LaRavia. I think he was born in Pasadena. Shout out Pasadena. Maybe the Lakers can pull some strings to get him home. Um, a guy that you and I both like. What are your thoughts on what Jayshawn Tate's market is now? I still believe that if he just gets some reps and run, this dude is still a bully ball defender and a guy with motor that the Lakers could use. He might be looking at a veteran minimum now, but I mean, for the taxpayer MLE, is he a guy that the Lakers could maybe pry?
So if yeah, I would say he's probably a minimum guy. But I
Nice.
do think with all these Rockets free agents and guys on non-guaranteed contracts, the situation is very fluid right now. What I mean by that is the Rockets still have the flexibility to make another big move, and that would probably require sign and trading a bunch of these guys
Hmm.
to make up the money to make something work. So just something to keep an eye on. It's a long shot, but assuming that doesn't happen, I think his market's probably at the minimum.
Okay, and that would be great if the Lakers could get somebody like that. And to your point, Jock Londale might become an unrestricted free agent, and the Lakers could maybe sign him as a stopgap option. My last question for you: let's say the Lakers are able to get the non-taxpayer MLE. At that point, their options are a little bit bigger. Let's not go for bigs at this point. Who would you spend that non-taxpayer MLE on? The list that I have of guys that I think would be interesting are obviously Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Bruce Brown, Karis LeVert. What are your thoughts on Quentin Grimes' market? Is he in that non-taxpayer MLE range, or do the Sixers have enough in their books to just sign him slightly above that to ward off any competing offers? And then the only other guy that I'll add here is maybe Santi Aldama, who's interesting but doesn't really fit what the Lakers currently need. But yeah, your thoughts on who the Lakers can get non-center wise if they're able to open up the non-taxpayer MLE?
Yeah, I think all those guys would be worth the mid level, especially for a team like the Lakers that don't really have many draft picks to trade. So to them, there's a lot more value in the free agency market being able to get someone without trading any assets than for several other teams. If they're willing to put the full mid level exception for many of these guys, I think they should be able to be one of the leading suitors for them. Obviously, it's different for the restricted guys like Grimes and Aldama. That would probably require a sign and trade, which means they'll have to give up something. So that's unlikely for the Lakers. But the only thing then, if the Lakers are willing to offer the full mid level for some of those unrestricted guys, I guess it's just about situation and having the biggest offer. The only other way these players can get more money would be if their previous teams resign them, or if another team sign and trades for them. So we'll see. Hopefully, the Lakers can get access to the mid level and secure one of these free agents, because otherwise, uh, they're going to have more challenges just getting another talented rotation guy on the roster.
Yeah, is at this point does it even matter? I mean, there's a scenario right where LeBron can take enough of a pay cut to open up the non-taxpayer MLE and the BAE, right? Does the BAE even matter anymore in this day and age, or
I mean, even less. It's even less than the tax mid level. But
right?
if there is someone you're able to get for the tax mid level, maybe you can get it for the BAE, because the BAE is
It's like
it's only
5.1,
$500,000 less than the tax mid level.
Okay. All right. So I guess if yeah. And I doubt LeBron would do that just to open that up. I guess the only scenario where the Lakers also have access to the BAE is LeBron taking a pay cut and then DFS walking, right, or something like that.
Or
Um,
both can take a little bit of a pay cut.
that's true. So we'll see what happens. All right, Yossi, thanks so much for hopping on today for this quick streamlined look at the free agency. I hope that I can upload this in time before anything shifts and everything we said and talked about is still relevant, but I appreciate you hopping on. I know it's a busy time of the year for you. Once again, please plug your things. And yeah,
Make sure you're all subscribed to Third Apron Podcast and the newsletter on Substack. And make sure you're following me on Twitter at Blue Sky, and Blue Sky, my name, Yossi Gozlan.
Awesome. Thanks, Yossi.
Thank you.